right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Shera, and I work in education here at California Botanic Garden, and I am going to be moderating today's Freeze Wild program from behind the scenes. I wanted to let you all know that we're going to be getting started in just a couple of minutes. So in the meantime, we invite you to get comfortable and, of course, ask us any questions that you might have while you are waiting. So we're going to give latecomers into the webinar just a couple of minutes to come on in, but we'll be getting started in just a couple of minutes. You may, if you have not already done so, want to prepare your bowls, spoons, scoops, anything that you would like to help make your ice cream eating experience a pleasant one. I am also going to pop up a poll because we are very curious to know if anyone who is joining us for today's Freeze Wild also took part in Freeze Wild the last time that it happened in 2020. So we're very curious about that. If you would like to answer that, you should be seeing a poll pop up onto your screen. Go ahead and answer, and then we'll all know. All right, thanks everyone. All right, so this is very exciting. I'm going to leave the poll open for just another minute for anybody else who might like to answer. But right now it is coming back that almost exactly 2/3 are back for their second round of Freeze Wild, and 1/3 of our participants, this is their first time. So welcome to everybody. A couple of things to let you all know that will hopefully make your webinar experience just a little bit better. So here on a Zoom webinar, it's a little bit different than if you're just going into a Zoom meeting, for example. There is a couple of different ways that you can use to talk to me or to talk to any of our panelists, to send a message. So if you can find your little box of tools that's probably somewhere on your screen, you are welcome to either use the Q&A box or the chat box to send us questions today. So our fabulous panelists are going to be talking all about these native plants and telling you why they are so amazing, but you may have your own questions that you'd like to pop in with. So we're going to try and answer those to the best of our ability. So go ahead and put those either in the Q&A box or in the chat box. I'm going to be monitoring both of those things throughout the program. And when it is a good time to pause or for me to interject a question, I'm going to ask those of our panelists. So if it does take just a little while for your question to get asked, don't worry, we're also going to have Q&A time at the end, but I'm just going to try and find a good time to interject those. So ask away, let us know what you're curious about, and also just about your experience with the ice cream. We'd love to know that as well. So what we are going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to our panelists who are going to be leading us today on, I'm going to call it a multisensory presentation. So there is going to be learning about plants, there's going to be looking at pictures of them, and then also getting to taste them today. So I hope that everybody enjoys that. Just for everybody's information, we are going to be tasting these in a certain order. We decided to do them today from the lightest and most refreshing to the kind of the most intense flavor. So we're going to be starting out with the Elderflower Lemon Sorbet. So if you haven't already pulled that out of your freezer, it also tends to be just a little bit of a harder scoop. So go ahead and pull that out so that you're ready to taste that in just a couple of minutes. But for now, I am now going to turn things over to our panelists, who are 3 fabulous staff members of the garden. They're going to introduce themselves, tell you about what they do here in the garden just a little bit. And I've asked them also to let us know what their favorite everyday flavor of ice cream is and which of our 3 flavors of ice cream they're most excited about eating today. So let me turn that over. Maybe Mariana, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, hello, my name is Mariana Ramirez Rodriguez, and I am the Grow Native Nursery Manager here at CalBG. So if you've gone to the Grow Native Nursery, you've seen me around. My favorite ice cream, I would have to say that it's the Marion Berry Pie ice cream from Tillamook. And I'm looking forward to try the Bluecurls and cream.
Hi, my name is Rowan Steffi. I manage the Northern Alluvial Garden, which is where the Majestic Oak is located, and the northeast communities out on the grounds in the garden. I'd say that my favorite ice cream typically would be the pistachio flavor done by Haagen-Dazs. And I'm really looking forward to tasting the Woolly Bluecurls and cream flavor.
Hi, my name is Roya Miller. I work in the conservation and restoration department. We have a separate nursery just for our restoration projects out in the Angeles. So I work in the nursery a lot, and then we also go out in the field and do some different restoration experiments, a lot of monitoring. My favorite ice cream is basically anything that's chocolate and coffee. So I'm excited about the Orange Bay or the chocolate Orange Bay ice cream.
Okay, awesome. So as Jennifer said, we're going to be starting off with the Elderflower Lemon Sorbet. So if y'all can scoop up some ice cream, get ready to taste, and we're all going to taste this together, discuss if we like it, discuss what the tastes are, and etc. So let's go ahead and have a taste.
That's good.
It is really refreshing, especially on this hot day.
Yeah, super light. You can definitely taste the lemon, and the elderberry, I think, is a little, it's like kind of a secondary note.
Yeah,
What do you think, Brian?
Definitely picking up the floral notes coming through from the flowers, of course.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard for me to taste the elderflower.
I could definitely taste it.
I think maybe a little bit, yeah. How do you guys feel about this one? Do you like it?
Yeah,
Cool.
it's almost like a shaved ice. I think like the consistency a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like definitely more shaved ice vibes than a sorbet, but it's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk to you guys about the Mexican elderberry, which is the Sambucus mexicana. There are some around in our area that's called Sambucus nigra var carulla, but I think there's like some discussion going on right now about the name changes, so it might just be changed to Sambucus mexicana, but we're not sure yet. But this belongs to the Audaxae or Morschatae family. This family consists of 5 genera, and it's characterized by the opposite tooth leaves, the small 4 to 5 petaled flowers, and the fruit, which is a drupe. And drupes are stone fruits, so think of things like peach or apricot. But the Mexican elderberry is a deciduous shrub that can also be a small tree. It can grow up to about 30 feet tall, and you can find it up from Oregon all the way down to Baja California, and it can go as west to Texas. It can be found in stream banks, slope bottoms, canyons, and slightly more moisture areas. And as you can see on this picture, it has like small cream flowers, and it usually is blooming in the spring, maybe early summer. And then in late summer and fall, it has the blue dark berries. Sometimes they're covered by this white powder, which I guess it's some kind of yeast that goes over it. It's okay. You can use it to eat it, but we'll talk more about that later. And it attracts a lot of pollinators like bees and butterflies. And the berries are actually a very important food source for California native birds. And I'm gonna go ahead and pass it over to Rowan.
So growing this plant at your home is fairly simple. As Mariana mentioned, they can grow to about 30 feet tall, about as wide. They take pruning very well. If you're going to prune, do it while the tree is dormant, and generally if you're in an area that receives frost, do it after the last frost possibility. If you're in most of Southern California, you can prune it pretty much as long as it doesn't have leaves on it at that point. Elderberries hypothesized to be a species of plant that humans have carried with us wherever we've gone in the world. That's why it's everywhere that we are. Pretty much every culture that's had it within their range has used the flowers for medicinal purposes in the form of typically teas, tisanes, and other infusions, and the berries are delicious cooked. Thankfully, the Mexican elderberry actually has the least amount of the toxins typically present in the berries, so your margin for error while cooking is fairly large. If you were to plant it in your yard with any California native, I'd recommend planting in October and November, so that they have the whole winter set in roots. Elderberries tend to leaf out fairly early as well. And generally you'll water it once a week, once every 2 weeks for the first year, and you can back off on how much you give it. They tend to form very shallow root systems rather than going deep, spreading wide with the possibility of lifting pavement if you're there too close to something. Generally, keep shrubs and trees at least 4 feet from any kind of paving that you might have at your house. They are summer deciduous, even if they're well irrigated. They will often drop their leaves if you live in a warmer, if you get heat waves over 95 and up, it's nothing to worry about. They'll even carry on their berries after they've dropped their leaves. And I will pass that further on.
Okay, so I think we just wanted to talk a little bit about collections. So however you're going to collect your material, so the flowers for when you make your ice cream, we definitely recommend growing your own. Wild harvesting is pretty controversial, especially from a restoration and conservation standpoint. You definitely don't want to collect in national parks or Forest Service land. You do need a special permit to do that. And if you do get caught, they will fine you. So we definitely recommend growing your own. You can also collect from private lands, like if you know somebody with like a lot of acreage or something like that, you could collect. But there are a couple things that I would recommend. Try to collect from populations with at least 5 or more individuals. And then when you do collect, the 1 to 20 rule. So for every 20 flowers, take 1. For every 20 seeds, take 1. Generally, it's about 5% of the total available you want to take. You don't want to take too much. You want to and if the population is not looking great, if it's stressed, if there's impacts, you probably want to leave that one alone and try to find a healthier population. So let's get into some medicinal and ethnobotanical uses for elderflower. Medicinally, elderflowers have been used to lower fever. They've been used in teas. They steep the flowers in water and use that as a tea a lot. You can also use it as a tincture. Traditionally, ethnobotanically, a lot of different Native Americans would use the entire plant. So they'll use the leaves, the wood, the flowers, and the berries. With elderberry, there are toxins in the wood, then the leaves, and the berries do need to be pre-treated or cooked to leach out a lot of the toxins. So definitely do a lot of research before you start eating anything from the wild. Don't just pop it in your mouth. And yeah, I think that's about it on elderflower.
Yeah. So then we'll go ahead and get ready to serve yourself the Woolly Bluecurls and cream. That will be our next one. So go ahead and take that out and start scooping in your mug or bowl.
And while folks are getting their next ice cream ready, we did have a question, which is just kind of about the difficulty of growing elderberry, like if it's a hard plant to grow, or if like, you know, like how soon, like if I plant this thing, how soon would I be able to get, you know, start harvesting flowers and stuff like that? Would it be like not too difficult?
Elderberries in general are very easy plants to grow. For the most part, if you're within the foothills, you won't even need to give them much additional irrigation at all once they've established. looking at probably 3 to 5 years for flowering, not very long. They grow very quickly to their full height, and then from there they essentially fill in and spread out wider. I would consider it one of the easier plants to grow of California natives in general.
Yeah, it's very hardy. We use it in restoration quite a bit.
Great, thank you. Thank you guys for answering that.
All right, I think we're ready to try. Go ahead and take a bite. I really love this one.
It's really good. The consistency is like way more like ice cream, like creamy for sure.
I'd absolutely buy this.
Yeah.
Somebody just sent a comment about how happy you all three look.
Yeah.
Are those the flowers in it?
Yeah, I think there's like little tiny flower bits in it, and it makes the texture so much better, I think.
It does. It's good.
Well, it's called Blue Curls and Cream, so you think of cookies and cream, you have like cookies in it, so
Yeah.
having the flour, it kind of parallels that. Awesome. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk a little bit about the Woolly Bluecurls. So the scientific name is Trichostema lanatum. This one belongs to the Lamaceae family or the mint family. So the mint family is cultivated for their fragrant leaves and their attractive flowers. And the Woolly Bluecurls are native to oak woodlands, chaparral, and coastal sage shrub communities in the southern half of the state. And it usually grows, you can find it within 50 miles from the coast. And they're mostly found in semi-riparian areas near creek beds, bottomlands where the soil is more moist, especially in drier areas. So like around our area, it's gonna wanna be in those type of areas. I'm sure if you've walked by a Woolly Bluecurl or seen it in person, you've all smelled the high fragrance from it. Comes from the leaves and the flowers. It's a shrub that can get about 3 to 4 feet tall and 3 to 4 feet wide. And the leaves are narrow and pointed. And it has, as you can see in the picture, these violet spike flowers that are sometimes curly, and they have small hairs around them. So that's why it's called the Woolly Bluecurls, because they really woolly and soft. They can flower from fall to winter, and it attracts many pollinators, and hummingbirds love them. I'll go ahead and pass it over to Rowan.
All right, and I'll just throw in, Rowan, that we got a question in about growing Woolly Bluecurls in particular, because they say that they have tried many times and they always die on us. They live down the road in Claremont.
This is a plan you can definitely kill with kindness very, very easily. This is one of the plants that I would absolutely recommend you get in as early as possible. If you're going to plant it in your yard, you want it to establish a root system that it's not going to require much additional watering the following summer, which can easily kill it. At the garden, we have success with keeping them alive, watering them every 2 weeks to 4 weeks max. And in some places they get much less. Some areas in the garden, they don't get any water at all. No additional irrigation. We've actually seen that the individuals, the Woolly Bluecurls that grow from seed, from the self-seed from other individuals that we planted, are stronger, they live longer, and they grow better. So you could try your hand at direct seeding it. I do not believe they need any type of special stratification, perhaps just heat. I'd have to look into that. That's my bad for not knowing now.
In the nursery, we usually just do no treatment. We just sow it like that, or we do cuttings.
So you could try sowing in your yard if you were to plant it. Like I said, get it in October. Water it about once a week, every 2 weeks. Unless it's raining and the soil's moist, don't water it then at all. When it comes, like when the temperatures get hot, pay special attention to what the leaves look like. Do not water the plant until the leaves start wilting. It can come back from being basically scorched too. It's almost better to push the plant further in the direction of not getting enough water than giving it too much. Giving it too much is a surefire way to kill woolly blue curls. And they can take pruning pretty much any time of the year. For tidiness purposes, we deadhead them typically in high traffic areas after they've finished flowering and are in the seeding stage. That can help prevent them from cracking from the weight of their own flowers or their own seed heads. And they respond with vigorous growth the next season. They also tend to do fine with no pruning at all if you don't mind, and they can even reseed themselves like I mentioned before. Pass that on to Roya for the botanical uses.
Yeah, every time I've seen woolly blue curls out in the field, it's been in like a full sun, very dry location. I don't really see them in a lot of riparian areas, so I think the watering is probably pretty key. I've done a little bit of light research and they say that it's a fire follower, but I don't think it necessarily needs fire as like a pre-treatment for the seeds to germinate. It's just in that kind of environment, so dry, open slopes, full sun, things like that. So for the ethnobotanical uses for woolly blue curls, it was reportedly used by the Chumash people as a disinfectant. And I found a few papers of researchers looking into it as a disinfectant also. So that's pretty interesting. It is in the mint family. So it's commonly used in cooking, teas, things like that. A lot of times people use the flowers as like a visual addition to like a dish or a salad or something. The dried flowers and leaves are also used to make a tea for stomach upset and menstrual cramps. And you can also use a tincture made from fresh flowers or leaves as a liniment for bruises. So the tincture is supposed to ease the pain of the bruises. In the past, flowers and leaves were also fried in oil to make a salve for pain. So it must have some sort of pain dulling effect. And you can also, in the past, the powdered and dry leaves were used as an inhalant or a snuff for treating coughs.
I've used it for stomach aches and made teas for my partner during their menstrual cycle, and it's helped for both of those things. I was not aware of the anti-bruising capabilities.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to just kind of help the pain of the bruise, relieve the pain for the bruises.
I'll have to make some.
I've made infused syrups with woolly bluecurls, and turned out really good putting it in my coffee or just to flavor water. You can just do like a simple infused syrup recipe that I found online, and instead of using like rosemary or lavender, I used the woolly bluecurls, and it worked out. It was really good.
Cool.
I've used it for cocktails. It's good.
I
Yeah,
haven't tried that yet.
It's really good.
it really steps up the visuals on the cocktails for sure.
That's great. We had 2 comments. Somebody saying that the syrup sounds really good, and then we also had a comment about woolly blue curls being really good cut flowers. Also, that they work really well in a vase.
Oh, they last forever.
Yeah.
They dry very well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have like I think I took like 4 little sprigs from doing cuttings. I just stuck them in a dry vase and they dried perfectly, and they're just there in my kitchen. They look really nice. Yeah. Maybe I'll grab some of the leaves and make tea.
Yeah.
We had a follow-up comment about, so thanking you for the advice about the planting, and also wondering if we would recommend some recipes for the syrup, if there's any recipes online that we can direct somebody to.
Yeah. I'll definitely get that sent. We can probably send it afterwards.
Mhm.
email or
Yeah,
something.
we are going to be sending out a link to this Zoom later on, because this is going to be, the video is going to be posted on our YouTube. So we can, when we send out that message, we'll also include a link to how to make a simple syrup with that you can infuse herbs into.
All right, sounds great.
Great, thanks.
So now we're gonna go ahead and start on our last one, the chocolate orange bay. Oh, there you go. So go ahead and scoop that up. It looks very good. Rowan, you beat us to it.
Hmm?
You beat us to it.
I was very excited.
While you're getting ready to eat that, we had one more follow-up question about the Woolly Bluecurls. Someone is asking about if there's any lookalikes for Woolly Bluecurls. Like, is there something where they should be afraid that they like think that this is Woolly Bluecurls, but it's actually something poisonous?
I don't think so.
No, it's pretty distinct. There's really not that much. I mean, the other things with purple flowers that kind of look like it, or maybe sages, but they're also edible. So
And I think people, like some people might mistake it with lavender, but that's also edible, so it should be fine.
The worst thing would possibly be lupin. The flowers, if you don't really know what you're looking at, a purple flowering lupin, like a lupinus albiforans or longifolius, could look somewhat like it, just being a tall purple spike of flowers. But lupin's flowers are not fuzzy like the blue curls, and the leaves are entirely different. Blue curl foliage looks by and large like rosemary. And the Spanish colonizers called it romero for rosemary anyway.
and since it is in the mint family, it has a square stem. So if you roll the stem in your fingers and you feel edges on it, then that is woolly blue curls. And the lupins are in the FAPE ACA and they don't have that. So you could just touch the stem.
They look fairly different too. It's just that's like the only thing I could think of that they might look like.
Good advice. I will remind everybody that, never eat anything unless you're totally sure. But yeah, it's a good one. Once you know that one, it's pretty distinct.
All right, how do you guys feel about the chocolate orange bay?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was better than I thought it was gonna be. The Bay Laurel has got like such a pungent aroma, and it's very strong when you're out in the wild. I thought it might be a little overpowering, but I think it played really well together.
Yeah. It's like,
It's really good.
It's super good.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I agree.
I'd also buy this one.
I don't know if I'm like flavor blind, but do you taste the orange that much?
I don't really taste the orange that much.
Yeah, I don't think
I
so.
mostly taste the chocolate and then like the bay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The nice.
Same. The orange is pretty minimal.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and talk about the California Bay Laurel. The scientific name is Umbellularia. Is that how you say it?
I always call, yeah, you could just sound
Sound it
confident.
out.
It's fine.
Umbellularia californica.
That's it.
It belongs to the Lauraceae or bay family, which includes the true laurel, the Laurus nobilis, which is the one we find in grocery stores and usually cook with. The California Bay Laurel is native to coastal forests of California at elevations from 0 to 5,000 feet. It can get up to about 20 to 45 feet. I've also heard it can get even higher than that. It has white or yellow flowers, which bloom in late winter and spring. The fruit is round, green berry, and it has like little purple yellow spots around it. The leaves, as you can see in this photo, are oblong, and they have the peppery aroma that everyone smells, and we just tasted and it was delicious. It attracts many pollinators and because of its flowers. And of course, since they have berries, it attracts a lot of birds and are also a good bird food source. And I'll go ahead and pass it to Rowan.
So we've had mixed success with these at the garden. It seems that they're rather vulnerable to phytophthora root rot. In the areas where we have heavier soils, they're definitely more vulnerable to it. I manage a rather large grove of them that are generally fairly healthy. I water them about once a month through overhead impact sprinklers under their canopies. Depending on how hot it is, sometimes I push them a bit further than a month. I've gone as much as 6 weeks without watering them during, like, after the rains have stopped. The leaves will become far less turgid, and you can tell it'll begin wilting a little bit, and it'll desire water. When you're planting them, as always, October, November, December, if you can. First year, watering once a week to every 2 weeks, depending on how hot it is. And since it's a tree, you want to train its roots to go as deep as possible. So on its second and third year, you'll probably want to give it a bit of what we tend to do with trees, at least what I do and several of my coworkers do, we turn a hose on very low, like just very low, barely a trickle, and leave it within the berm that we dig around the plant for about an hour, and that will soak the root ball down several feet, encouraging the roots to go deeper rather than spreading shallowly. This increases the plant's drought tolerance. In Claremont, they get pretty large, so if you're in that area and you want to plant one, expect the tree of at least 40 to 50 feet wide and about as tall. Been really desperate to try the nuts that they produce, but the squirrels always beat me to them before they even mature. They clear out the entire grove. And I'll pass it on to Roya.
Yeah, so I've seen these guys pretty much in riparian areas. So I think that's maybe one of the reasons for Phytophthora. They're water loving. They're usually in like dry creek beds or by like an active water source. The berries do need a pre-treatment before you eat them. I believe they need to be leached from the tannins, which can upset your stomach. It's not toxic, but it will make you sick. So definitely do your research on how to leach the berries before you try those. They do get very large. They're evergreens. The leaves themselves can be used as a bay substitute. I cook with them all the time. They're a little bit more fragrant, a little and stronger than the traditional bay that you would get. Also, if you use fresh leaves, they're definitely stronger and more potent than dried leaves, but that goes with pretty much any herb. Fresh herb is more potent than the dry herb. And they've been used by native peoples for quite a long time. They have a very large range. They go all the way up to Northern California. So they've been used by the Chumash, the Pomo, the Miwok, the Yuki. They're just some of the California tribes that have used bay laurel trees. Again, they used all of the trees, so the wood, the fruit, the leaves, but the wood and the fruit can be toxic, so definitely be careful. All parts, especially the leaves, contain an aromatic camphor-like oil that has a cooling and insecticidal properties. So I've read people use them for fleas, like as a flea deterrent, and you can also use it for headaches. So different native people would put them like you could use fresh leaves or dry leaves, put it under your hat or make a poultice. And let's see, you can also, but it does, some people do react to the oils. So I haven't had a reaction, but from what I've read, some people do react negatively from the oils from the tree. Yeah, they used to tuck it under hats or into headbands made of laurel twigs to relieve headaches. A laurel leaf tea was drunk to treat stomach aches, colds, and sore throats. And it also clears up mucus in the lungs. And it can be used as a more robust seasoning substitute rather than the sweet bay or Laurus nobilis in cooking. Oh yeah, it's a pretty like versatile tree. It's also evergreen and it's beautiful. You should plant it.
Wonderful shade tree.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you guys have gone through the area Rowan was talking about, you go down the path and there's this laurel trees. It's like a tunnel and you can smell all the bay and it's so delicious.
It really is. Yeah. And it like drops the temperature also.
Yes.
It's like always cooler
yeah.
when you go through that section.
Yes.
I'm very
in the morning, you're driving through it in the car, it's like 10 degrees cooler than everywhere else.
It
Yeah.
is. It's so nice. I'm like, I'll go slow through this section.
Yeah. Feel the coolness,
Yeah.
smell the delicious fragrance.
Yeah.
So we had a couple of questions pop in. One person was asking about growing California Bay around other plants. They had heard that like maybe you're not supposed to grow them around oaks or something like that. It might be a disease thing.
So they do have, when the leaves drop, the part of the oils and the tannins actually inhibit a lot of other plants from growing under them. So it is difficult, like oaks has the same issue. They have a couple plants that can grow right under them, but most of the plants do not like the oils that these trees put off. So it just will inhibit growth of a lot of different species.
My guess about the possible disease that they were referring to would be oak root fungus, which is a species of honey fungus in the Armillaria genus. We grow them next to each other in the garden without much negative effect. They grow next to Quercus agrifolia and Quercus chrysolipus, and especially in the wild, they grow next to both of those species, being the coast live oak and the canyon live oak. So they shouldn't be too vulnerable to that, as far as I have seen in that experience. The Phytophthora is an entirely different issue. That just tends to be a problem in a lot of public gardens and other cultivated spaces.
Yeah, it's a waterborne fungus, so it's more it's not actually a fungus, but it's similar. It travels through water, so anything in like very riparian areas is like especially susceptible to Phytophthora.
I think bays also have a possibility of being vulnerable to a specific heartwood rot fungus. I'm not familiar with what species that is though, so you'd have to research that yourself.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for answering that. We had another question also basically about using them in place of culinary bay leaves. So somebody had read that some people can be sensitive to the leaves, and they wanted to know more about that, basically, if we know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've read about that. I've definitely seen that online. I'm not affected by them. I've given them to my husband and he's still alive, so he's not affected by it. But yeah, I think it does affect some people, and trial and error. I don't know how you would find that out if you're
A little bit.
Yeah.
Generally, the best way to test if you're vulnerable to a specific herbal compound is with these. It would be easy. Take the leaf and rub it on the inside of your wrist and see if there's any reaction in 24 hours. If there isn't, you should be fine.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, and I think that's our questions about Bay for right now, but I will open up also if anybody has any other questions, you can still throw them our way. Panelists, yeah, is there anything else you would like to tell us about our ice creams today or about the plants?
I did forget to mention when we were talking about the Woolly Bluecurls that I learned that indigenous people would use it to clean their hair. They would get the leaves, put it in, just let it seep in water for about 24 hours and use that as a shampoo.
Very interesting.
Yeah. I want to try it. We'll see.
I do too.
Yeah.
That sounds like it would be a fabulous like hair smell or
Yeah.
shampoo smell. All right, and so we'd also like to know to our audience, send us a message if you want to tell us about your favorite flavor. We, of course, hope that this is not the last time that we will be doing Freeze Wild. I think we in the garden enjoy this at least as much as anybody outside does. It's one of our favorite events. So let us know what other plants you're curious about. If there's other flavors that you think we should try for maybe future rounds of Freeze Wild. And we want to thank everyone again for joining us today. I also want to thank Mariana, Rowan, and Roya for all of your fabulous expertise today and for guiding us in our ice cream eating. As we mentioned before, we are going to be posting this video onto our YouTube channel, so keep an eye out for that email if you are part of the if you had purchased one of the ice creams today. If you had to step away for some reason or you came to the program late, you'll be able to see that there. Or if you just want to refer to it later, check it out. And once again, we just want to thank everybody for joining us and for coming to our Freeze Wild. We did get a comment about that their favorite was the Woolly Bluecurls, and they said they're up, I'm in for a spa one of these. All right, so yes, so using it for hair, I think is definitely a winner. So thank you again, everyone, for coming to our webinar. We got another vote for Woolly Bluecurls as their favorite. So I think that might be our winner for today. Did anybody else have a different favorite? You can let us know. All right, so for everyone, hopefully you've got a little bit of ice cream still. We had a nice job, everyone comment, and thanks so much. So excellent job, everybody, and we hope that we will see you all around the garden soon. Don't forget to check out our website and our social media, where we are always posting new classes and all about our fabulous native plants, information from our experts here at the garden. So thanks very much. Feel free to follow up with an email also if you think of a question later on or something else that you'd like to ask us. You can always reach us at the garden at info@calbg.org.